So welcome everyone. We are really happy to have you here on the bachelor session of the online open day today. And yeah, we are in the bachelor program session and you have reached now this little time spot where you also hear Professor Leopold with a little mini lecture. And yeah, in general, I hope you had a nice introduction to the open day. And yeah, now we would like to present ourselves because of course you see we are here not only one person. So I'm Magdalena and I'm in the Bachelor of Business Administration, my 4th semester. So it's my 2nd year. And I'm also the spokesperson of the student body. And I'm really happy to be moderating the whole session here today. And yeah, I'm really happy to answer your questions later on. And I wish you the most of fun. And I would like to hand over to the other students.
Hi, I'm Jonah. I'm a bachelor student in my 4th semester and I specialized in international management. And so far, I really like my time at KLU because you're in such close contact with the professors. And therefore, I will also talk about this topic today. I'll provide insights on what it's like to attend classes at KLU and what the professors are like.
Hi, I'm Alena. I'm also in my 4th semester right now as Jonah and Magdalena. And yeah, I'm specialized in sustainable management. And I will tell you a little bit more about the student life in general, my application process, the welcome week, and also the ambassador program, and of course, parties at KU.
Hello, my name is Stefan, and I'm also a bachelor student here at KLU, and I'm part of the bachelor class of 2023. So right now I'm in my 2nd semester, and today I will talk about how we cope with Corona at KLU.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. So you might wonder why Federico is not saying a word, but this presentation is updated yesterday, and he had his wisdom teeth taken out, so we will take over his part. But he's also a really nice student, and you can also ask him any questions via the mail. Okay, so now a little introduction on how we are doing the session in particular. So you probably are all familiar with Zoom. But just a quick overview, you have the black toolbar on your screen or on your phone, whatever you're using. And we will ask you to enter the questions you have using the Q&A tool, because we will answer only these questions and not the chat, because it's just it's just so much more better. And you can also obviously ask your questions anonymously. So no worries, we will not point on your personal questions. And you can also upvote questions, so with the thumbs up, and then I can see the questions which are most interesting for you, and then we will of course try to answer these first. Yeah, but don't hesitate to ask any questions. We're always really open, so just share whatever you want to know. And yeah, again, the chat, don't use it only if we are telling you to use it. So now actually I'm going to tell you the whole structure. So you have heard some inputs from my fellow students what they are talking about, but here's just the general overview so you can prepare your questions maybe. So we have just welcomed you, and then as we are all in Hamburg located, so the KLU, we will Alena will tell you lots of the Hamburg student life, what you can do, what you can experience apart from the studying. And then also the application process, as she has just mentioned, and the general studies is also a great topic, which Jonah will tell you lots of about, how the professors are, and yeah, how a typical day looks at university. And of course, we're having the Corona crisis, and therefore we switched to online teaching. And this is also really important for you to know. So Stefan will take over this part. And last but not least, we will tell you a lot about the extracurricular activities, which are lots of fun. And we all share this kind of point because we are all part of the activities. So now you're actually meant to use the chat function, because I would like to ask you to answer the question where you're joining us from. And yeah, you can please answer as many times as you want, but like 3 times would be the best. So just tell us if you're from Germany, if you're from another country, which city you are from, or are you actually from a rural area, then you can tell us that. And where exactly you're staying. So maybe you might be in bed, or you're on your balcony, enjoying the sun, whatever. So please just quickly use the chat, and then we are really eager to see all the answers. So the first answer is from Derek. You're in Venezuela. Oh, how interesting. I would like to be in the sun as well. New Zealand, that sounds really cool. So you're probably having another time. So here it's 2:20. So very nice that you're joining us from another time zone. Okay, we have some from Hamburg. You also see the answers, so you can also scroll through. And lots of you are also from another country, but already living in Hamburg. That's also really nice. I'm really glad that Hamburg convinced you. Brazil. We have so many people from abroad, which I think is really nice. It's really nice to see. So we see our benefits from the online open day. It's nice to have one benefit of Corona at least. And then the last ones are from Germany. Okay, so again, welcome all of you. I think it's also really obvious to see that the KLU family is really international, which we all really appreciate, and we are so happy to have this. So this is also really nice to see that the new bachelor year is hopefully also being really international. And yeah, I'm really happy to give you some German inputs now, because actually now Alena will tell you the details about Hamburg. So although you are not in Hamburg right now, you have the online feeling of being in Hamburg. So let's hand over to Alena.
So hi again, I'm Alena. And yeah, in Hamburg, we used to say that we live in the most beautiful city of the world. And if you are here right now, you would know why. So the KU is located in one of the most modern parts of Hamburg, the Hafen City, which is also really close to the docks and the city center. Here you see some impressions of Hamburg and also of the parts where KU is located. Yeah, close by to the KU, you can find many bakeries and cafes. So for example, at that Bacchus, some say there you could find the best Franzbrötchen, which probably only the ones who were once in Hamburg know, but I promise you it's a very tasty thing to eat. So also the connection to the rest of the city is very well, and right next to the KU, for example, is a bus station, and right around the corner you can also find the train station Überseequartier. Also in only 5 minutes walking distance, we have Hamburg's new symbol, the Elbphilharmonie, which you can also see from the KU windows. In general, the view at KU is stunning, as you can see the harbor and the Elbe and everything. A bit further from the KU, you can find Alster, which is close to the Jungfernstieg, and the Landungsbrücken, where, for example, the famous Hafengeburtstag, the birthday of the harbor, takes place, which then again is quite close to St. Pauli, where you can find the famous Reeperbahn. If you're not that much into partying in clubs, Hamburg also offers some other cool places like the Schanze, where the famous bar Oma's Apotheke can be found. And yeah, of course, Hamburg doesn't only offer great opportunities for partying, but also for your free time in general. There are many beautiful parks, or also the Elbstrand, and there are also many great restaurants. So I can promise you, Hamburg provides a great student life for everyone. So now I'd like to talk a little bit more about the application process. So I'm currently in my 4th semester, meaning that I applied at KLU 2 years ago, but basically I started my application by doing the same thing all of you are doing right now, attending an open day. So congratulations for taking the first unofficial step towards your studies at KU. After the open day, which 2 years ago obviously didn't take place online, but on our beautiful campus, I was really impressed. But don't be sad that you're not on our campus right now. We try to show you as many impressions as possible, and you can actually have one thing more to look forward to if you study at KU. Yeah, so the open day really motivated me to apply at KU and become a student. So I started my application around March, April, and handed everything the university needed and wanted from me in. And only a few weeks later, I had my interview with Professor Rosi on the campus. For sure, I was nervous before the interview, and I would lie if I say I wasn't, but she was so nice and simply asked me about myself and my motivations, so I wasn't nervous anymore. Yeah, clearly not everyone can be interviewed by her, but every other interviewer is just as nice as her. And I never heard someone complaining about their interview. So in the end, it is not as bad as you think. Only I think like around 1 or 2 weeks later, after my interview, KU told me that I'm in. And after that, you just have to hand in a few more deliverables for your admission process. And after that, already one of the most exciting weeks at KLU start, the welcome week. The welcome week is filled with a mixture of activities that help you getting to know the KU and Hamburg as a city better, as well as getting to know your classmates before the start of your actual studies and the lecture. The optional activities differ every year. For example, last year we could, for example, Stefan could visit the Discovery Dock or the Ratsherrn Brewery. For example, there are also some other activities. So, for example, every department and KU introduces themselves, so you have a face for every department you might be in touch with during your studies. Also, there was a city tour. Many of us attended, for example, Magdalena and I met there before our actual study started, which was quite cool. So you already have some faces at KU. Yeah, so here you can see some further impressions. Those impressions are obviously from the last welcome week and not from mine, because everyone's wearing a mask. Yeah, so that's it about the welcome week. And now Jonah will hand over about his part.
Yeah, so thanks a lot, Alena, for the introduction of the application and the welcome week. But of course, at some point you also start studying, and we will have Jonah telling you lots of things about the general study process.
I think you're still muted, sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay, what I wanted to say is that KLU is special because we have really small classes. In my study cohort, we are about 40 students. Now, splitting that further into different profiles and different electives, you can end up with about 10 students in your class. Just not a lot. A personal example of mine would be my Chinese class. We were 3 students in total and 1 instructor. So you can imagine it's quite personal. You know the professors and the professors know you. And that might not appeal to everyone, but I really like it. And not graded like in high school, you can actively participate during the class, ask questions, or make suggestions. It is really not comparable to any big public university. Oftentimes in the classes, you also have presentations and group works. These are oftentimes as well graded. So overall, I'd say it's very much like in high school, but just more professional and more personal. And it is very unlike studying at a big public university. And because the classes and the university itself are so small, the professors do not treat you simply as a number and really look after your academic and professional progression. The professors are always there in case you have any questions during the course or outside of the course. The topic could be anything. For example, the course content, reviewing exams, career advice, internships, or master studies. They really want you to succeed inside and outside of the university, and therefore share their network and expertise with you. And you can even work for them outside of the class. I am personally a student assistant for 2 of my professors and hereby facilitate their research and their teaching. And I hereby get exposed to a lot of valuable insights. So summing up, it is really personal. And if you like to be looked after and recognized, you'll also like KLU.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jonah. So obviously this was about a year ago how we when we experienced this kind of setting, but now we all switched to online studying for a year now, and I think Steffen is a really good person to share his experience because he only knows KLU online or in a hybrid mode. So let's hear something from Steffen.
Thank you so much, Magdalena. So I hope you can hear me now. And yeah, today, of course, yeah, Corona is also a big topic for us here at KLU. It changed dramatically how we learn and how we study, especially during the last month. So the pictures that you can see, this was how we were able to have our lectures up until the lockdown in December. So we were still able to go to campus. But all of the safety measures that are being taken and the way we are coping with Corona at KLU highly depends on the legal situation that we have here in Hamburg. So frankly speaking, it depends on the new Corona cases in Hamburg. So, but we were very fortunate until December because we were still able to go to the campus by, of course, also wearing masks, tracking our contacts. This was by using a device so-called the Corona Tracer. And you can see this small blue device on the right picture. And this works, yeah, a bit similar to the Corona app. So in case there would have been any new Corona cases inside KLU or any Corona cases at all, it would have been very easy to track down and to then send all the affected people into quarantine. Fortunately, this did not happen, but we really felt well prepared. And also we had lots and lots of hand sanitizers. And I think we were also quite lucky because we were able to have some of our exams on campus. So this is because, as Jona already mentioned, we have relatively small classes, but plenty of space. So this was also a way to be sure that the safety distance is there at any time. So, but since December, if we go to the next slide, again, there was a shift and we had to adapt to this new situation. So now we have a complete online setting. So now we are having our lectures online via Zoom. So yeah, I think this is just a nice way because it has 2 great benefits. On the one hand side, you're still able to have a live lecture. So you have this live feeling. So in case there are any questions arising, you can address them directly via the Zoom chat, or also because we have such small classes, you can also just speak up in case there are any questions. So this is one big point. And the other big point is, and you can see that on the top left corner of the right picture, those sessions are being recorded. So yeah, in case you miss a lecture or you want to rewatch a specific part of one lecture, you now have the chance to do so. And I think this is really how we make the best of the current situation. And on the left-hand side, this is maybe how you can, sorry, you can imagine us sitting there every morning now. So yeah, this is also a completely new situation for us students here. So yeah, I already talked about the Zoom recordings. So if we then again go to the next slide, those Zoom recordings are automatically being uploaded to our e-learning platform, which is called Moodle. So this is where we find all the important files that we need for studying. So I already mentioned the Zoom recordings, but we also find slides, important announcements, tutorials. So you can see here a screenshot of my statistics class at the moment. And if you were to scroll down a bit, you will be able to see some tutorials about a program that we use now. So I think this is very useful because you can set your own pace when it comes to learning. And yeah, of course, we have a small Q&A session as well, and also assignments, which are very important when it comes to group work. And overall, Moodle is just very easy to use, and you can sort it by courses. So you have all the important information on one page. And also we use an app called Kahoot. Maybe some of you know it. It's a quiz app, and it's just nice to just wrap up some content of the last lectures. And it's also nice for the profs to see where the students are so that they can make sure that everyone is on the same page, so that all those questions are of course being discussed, and yeah, like 5 to 7 questions. And I think this is just very nice because you still keep the exchange between the profs and the students.
Thanks a lot, Steffen. I think you gained now a really good insight about the studying at KLU. But now we would like to move forward to the extracurricular activities KLU offers, or all the students club that we have. So I am also leading UniConnect, which is a student committee at KLU. And UniConnect is meant for all students, and you can join whenever you want. And we it's a student club linking students with other companies and other professionals, because we are organizing lots of interactive sessions and we have many excursions. Of course, when Corona wasn't there, we were always going to the companies, and then we were talking with them, or they were giving their presentations, and we had lots of Q&As as well. But now we moved this all to online, so we are having also really nice events online. So for example, last semester we had LinkedIn, the CEO of LinkedIn, and he was telling us lots of things about LinkedIn, which was really interesting. And we also have lots of startups who are giving us insights. So this is a really nice opportunity for the students to improve their network, because it's also really helpful for the future. And I'm happy to answer any questions. And Jonah is also in the committee, so we're actually 2 here today. So it's really nice. Yes.
Okay, so the Student Ambassador Program is the reason Jonah, Magdalena, Steffen, and I are here today and do this incredible presentation for you, because the Ambassador Program is for students who would like to support the KU a little bit more by providing feedback and personal study experience to prospective students. So I'm a student ambassador since my first day at KU, so around 1.5 years now, and the activities I did during this time really differ, and all were really fun. I can really recommend being a student ambassador because the activities are really fun, as I said, and everyone there is super friendly and really appreciates your ideas and support. And I really love working together with other students ambassadors, and also with Kim, Heidi, and of course Nicole. So you can reach out to every one of us if you still have questions after the open day. We're happy to help you. And this is a program I would really recommend for you.
So personally, I study business administration as I'm interested in a career as a consultant. This developed throughout my time at KLU, but this is my goal now. And luckily, a few fellow students of mine founded KLU's own official student consultancy last year called Advice Supply. Now, before talking about Advice Supply, I want to emphasize the point of founding a student organization. You can found any student organization you like here at KLU in case it has not yet been established. For example, recently, 2 of my fellow students founded the KLU gaming team for connecting with students outside of the curriculum and play online games together. And the university management actually financially and also non-financially helps you with the organization of your committee. Now, coming back to Advice Supply. I joined in January and so far really love my time. We are about 16 students in the team and currently work on 3 different projects together. But we also work on consulting events and workshops for others, for other KLU students to get a better feeling of the work of a consultant. I personally currently work on a customer and data analysis project for a startup. The founder of this startup is a KLU alumni, and the other projects are also all for clients who are somewhat related to KLU. We meet on a weekly basis to discuss our progress and the challenges we encountered working on the projects. The workload, I'd say, is roughly 10 hours per week, which is, in my opinion, totally manageable while studying. And what I really enjoy about Advice Supply is threefold. First of all, I like connecting with like-minded and ambitious students who are also looking forward to a career as a consultant, as I am. Secondly, I really like that I can apply my theoretical knowledge that I learned during my studies and can apply it in practice to gain first insights into the work of a consultant. And lastly, I can also network with the clients and experience their expertise in action, which is really valuable. Now, apart from being part of Advice Supply, I'm also part of some other extracurricular activities. Before COVID struck, I played soccer against other university teams with fellow students from KLU. The so-called Uniliga, or University League, is a soccer league in which every university from the Hamburg area can participate in and can play in a tournament against each other. The games are about 30 minutes long and you play 9 versus 9 on a fair play basis without a referee. And the best teams of the tournament actually move on to play in another tournament on a national level. And you can imagine there are some really professional teams out there who have played together for a long time and actually have training several times a week. But during my time in the league, we at KLU saw it mainly as a fun activity and therefore did not have trainings at all and only participated in the tournament. And of course, once you join, this may change. But what I really like about being part of Uniliga and the soccer team is also threefold. First of all, I think it's a great way to connect with students from other universities. But simultaneously, it's also a great way to get in close contact with fellow KLU students, especially from other study cohorts like the master's program, and in the end find friends while also exercising and getting your mind of studying. And lastly, either during the tournament or after the tournament, you can go for a well-deserved beer and have a great time.
Okay, so now I of course want to tell you something about probably the most fun part of our studies, the events and parties the KLU event committee organizes. And by saying the most fun part, I don't mean the partying itself, that is of course fun too, but the best thing is that those events help you getting to know each other and getting along with each other in a very unique way. Every event is great organized and gives you the opportunity to connect with each other outside your normal student life and your normal university life. So it really helps for your studies because if you find friends, and I would say it's quite easy to find friends at KU, your studies become more fun. And yeah, this is, for example, the Oscar night, which took place 2019, obviously, and not this year. Yeah, it's a very funny, or it was a very fun event, and everyone dressed so nice, and you really had the feeling of being at a special place. But because the KU is so beautiful, and it's yeah, it was a great evening, and we also had those are not the most glamorous pictures, but they show you that we at KU organize it all by ourselves, and or the event committee does that. And yeah, here you see some impressions of how it was like for us students. And also we had a really great Christmas party 2019, yeah, which obviously also didn't take place last year. But as I said, it is a beautiful way of connecting with each other outside of university, and there's so much fun. And yeah, that is of course a really fun part of the studies, and I hope it will come back soon.
Okay, so these were nice words. I think we all have the hope, Alena. So let's all hope that we will have a party all together with the new bachelors and with all the years next year. So fingers crossed. And so now we're actually moving to the Q&A session. So I hope you got nice impressions, and I have 6 questions open. So we will just start with the first one, as it also has two thumbs up. So Maria asked if we only speak English inside the university. So yeah, okay, I can answer the question. So we are quite international, but we sometimes we also speak German. I don't know, when we are in on the toilet, coffee break, whatever. But all the lectures are in English, so we totally stick to English. And also the professors, you always have English courses, and during the lectures you never talk German. And also when you're outside of university, and from the moment an international student joins, we always switch to English, although we are also more Germans in a group, but we always integrate the international. So no worries about that. The next question is how hard it is to find a place to live, and in which area it is the best to live in Hamburg, or where most students live in.
I mean, the KLU supports you with your search. So in case, so sometimes we get some emails with new available places at student homes. But for example, I live in my own apartment, but I don't know if we have somebody here who's living in those student homes, because I don't exactly know where they're located right now. But the KLU is very supportive, and you can get in touch with them, and they will also help you find a place where you can, an affordable place in Hamburg where you can stay.
Yeah, so also regarding this question, it really depends on the budget you have. So living quite in the city, so around about the Alster directly near the water, is really expensive. But as far as you move outside, so I don't know, you can also live in Ottensen, or Othmarschen, there are really nice student accommodations called Studentenwohnheim, and there the prices are much more affordable. So now the next question I would like to refer to is the internship. So how many internships, or do we have to do an internship? And yeah, so.
Okay, so it's a little bit different. It depends if you're doing the intensive track or the standard track. With the standard track, you have to do 1 internship during the summer or during your studies. So you have the first break between the 2nd and 3rd semester, or between the 4th and 5th semester for that. And as an intensive student, you have to do 2 internships. And yeah, but I can guarantee that KU really helps you find an internship if you're not able to do this on your own. They really support you. We have a special department called Career Services, and yeah, they really help you. And also you get to know some companies during your studies, so there you can also save an internship. Yeah, so it's quite easy to find one.
Okay, thank you, Alena. So another question is regarding to the profiles we are luckily able to choose in the bachelor's. So the question is when we have to choose the profile line.
If I remember it correctly, we had to choose the profile line in the first, or at the end of the first semester. And for me, for example, I chose the profile line in which the 2 profiles, international management and sustainable management, are in, but you could have also chosen the other one. And then for 1 year now, I have had Chinese classes. And now soon, or I think we even decided on it, we had to decide on the actual profile we want to attend. In my case, I opt for international management, and now in the 5th and 6th semester, you get really into those profile lines, and you all separate into those different electives.
Thanks, Jonah. So sticking to the profile lines, there's also another question plopping up. So we, as it might be interesting for you, we have 4 profiles. So the sustainable, the international, then the supply chain and logistics, and the data management profile. And the question is referring to the sustainable profile. So what kind of insights you get there. So maybe Alina, you want to share a bit of that because you have chosen it, and Jonah maybe you also want to share something about the international profile line.
Okay, so I chose the sustainable profile line, but I already only had one course regarding sustainability. It was the sustainable supply chain course, and we still have it right now. So the real courses regarding the profile lines start in the 5th and 6th semester. But yeah, as it's all about sustainability, but compared to the international track, I think it's more about the sustainable way of managing, and not so much in a way of how it's like to have it in an international way, because the international profile line also offers, for example, the international financial accounting course, and this one you wouldn't have if you do the sustainable management course. But I can't really tell you further information about the topics in the lectures. So yeah, maybe someone else could do that.
Yeah, I can add something. So as of now, I've only attended profile line lectures, I call them. So I haven't attended any lectures specifically in the international management profile. And the difference between sustainable management and international management in the end is, apart from what Alena said, is that in the international management profile, you don't really have a sustainable view on things. I mean, that's also an important topic as always, but you focus on the cultures as well, and also on cross-border decisions in the end.
Okay, perfect. So let's finish this topic as we have more questions, but Nicole also told you in the chat that you can always reach out to study at the KLU.org. And there's also lots of videos on the website for the individual profile lines, and you get lots of detailed information there. So maybe this is a nice hint. And also one question was how many % of the students are international. So it's really nice to see how the international students are increasing. So we experience lots and lots of more nationalities on campus. So this intake, we have lots of more international students than last year. So it's around 40% in the bachelor, and traditionally it's 20 to 30, I would say. And as you know, KLU also has lots of master programs, and in the master programs, the internationality is a bit higher, as they are also, of course, it's an advanced program and they have already done their bachelor. And there, I would say it's overall 50 or 60%, so a lot more. But still, we also have contact with the lower end and the years above. So I would say the internationality is really high, and we're always happy to be flexible, let's say. So another question is, what is the average age for the bachelor students when they start studying?
Okay, so Jeff, do you want to answer that? Because in our bachelor year, it was the youngest person, Magdalena, was like 17, I think, when she started. And the eldest were, I think, around 27. But it's a high range, and most of the students are somewhere 18, 19, around that. I don't know how it was in your year, Stefan.
Yeah, similar. The range is like from 17 to like mid-20s also for our bachelor course.
Okay, so thank you. And another question is coming. So what's the main difference of the standard and the intensive track? So maybe Jonah, you want to say something as you are having the intensive track, I guess? And then
yes.
Yeah, the difference.
Yes. So the main difference is that you have to complete 2 internships instead of 1. That means you have to block both of your summers and do an internship. Now with the standard track, you'll only have to do 1 and basically have 1 free summer, which you don't have to spend on an internship. That would likely be the main difference, but apart from that, you also have to attend a bit more so-called personal skills classes. Those classes are not graded; they're only pass and fail. And you, as they're called personal skills classes, you learn something that is not related to the curriculum itself, but rather to your personal skills. For example, I chose a class called mindfulness, and I also attended an Excel class, and there's also different classes like PowerPoint, or also Python. So those are classes that are not directly related to the curriculum and more focused on your skills, and you just have to attend more of those. But as mentioned, the main difference is the internship.
Okay, thank you, Jonah. I hope this is a satisfying answer. And another question is regarding the exams. So how many exams we write during our exam weeks?
Stefan, you can go.
Yeah, no. For me, it was in the first semester we had 3 exams, but at KLU we also have a lot of group work and a lot of projects that we work on. So it's not just the exams that you focus on, but also the other part. But this highly depends on the courses that you have. So, for example, now we have to do a project with SPSS, some data management. In another project, we work with a company called Optic, and also those projects are being graded. And then, of course, the other part is the exam. So, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I'm scrolling through all Q&As, but I think we're really good in timing as we are. Okay, we have one more question from Maria about the application process. So do we have any tips for the application process, because she wants to start soon? So
So I would say a great thing is that you're already here, because you get some insights about the KU and see if this might fit with you. Clearly, you have to be sure about your motivations and really be or write down your motivations that really fit you, because yeah, in the end, this is what makes it and what gives the KU stuff insights about it. But yeah, you can always reach out if you have questions during your application process to either one of us or also to the KU staff.
Okay, perfect. So thanks, Alena. So far, I think we're done with the questions you have asked until now. But yeah, if you have any more questions, just put them in the Q&A. Maybe we find some time in the end, or we will text you separately via mail. And now I would like to end our little bachelor introduction and would like to hand over to our professor, Henrik Leopold. So I will stop my screen sharing.
All right, just 1 second so that I can just have to find the chat window. Okay. Yeah, thanks for the introduction. My name is Henrik Leopold, and I'm a professor at KLU for Data Science and Business Intelligence. That's the official title. And what I would like to do today is to give you a little bit of an idea of how we teach maybe and how a lecture looks like. But what I also would like to emphasize, so I'm a computer scientist by training. I'm now at KLU for 2 years, and I'm mostly teaching in the data management track. So if you don't like what you see today, or if you don't like me, there is a good chance to avoid me. Yeah, so don't be scared by the things I'm telling you today. But why I chose the topic and why I would like to talk about the topic today is also to maybe yeah, give you a little bit of a motivation to think about the data management track, or realize a little bit how these topics of data are actually relevant for you, right? So we at KLU are fully aware that you're not coming to KLU to become a computer scientist or a technical expert, but we also realize that the world is changing very quickly. And for once, I'm not talking about COVID, but many other developments in organizations simply require more technical skills from you, or more of a technical understanding. And we take this very seriously at KLU and try to educate you, because we believe that becoming a leader in business requires you more and more to understand these topics. So the lecture, it's maybe not such a handy title, so but I think it's nice to reflect on that. So how new technologies, digital platforms, and algorithms change life and business. And the first term I would like to explain, and probably, hopefully, you have heard, of course, or you have a feeling about the term algorithm. But I like to start by explaining what an algorithm is, and then we will get right into it. Okay, so what's an algorithm? And maybe you wouldn't have, if I had asked you in class, I would have asked you what the answer is. You probably wouldn't have came up with this example. What you see here is nothing else but a recipe for cookies, chocolate chip cookies to be precise. And well, maybe you like chocolate chip cookies. I do. And if you do, and you want to prepare them yourselves because you have more time these days to do these things, well, this is actually a recipe, and what you can see here, it consists of 8 very specific steps, right? So we sort by preheating the oven, and then we have to, of course, we have to mix some ingredients and have to simply follow a particular number of steps. Yeah, and once we are done with these steps, then we are having our cookies. And this is a bit my story here, that an algorithm is nothing else at a very high level, but a number of steps that if you execute them in a particular order, you get a result. And in this particular case, the result is hopefully delicious. In many other contexts, it might be something else. But this is what algorithms are. And obviously algorithms, as we experience them in our lives, are more of technical things, hidden everywhere in our lives. We will get back to that. And not so much about cookies, but it gives you some idea. Yeah. So why am I bringing this up as an explanation? So what I found so interesting is that our life is more and more dominated by these by algorithms. And when you ask people, and there was a nice study, it's not too old, it's a couple of years ago in Germany, they had asked people in Germany, okay, what do you think or feel about algorithms? And 45% couldn't say anything about it. Yes, they said, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Okay, that's fair, right? So you don't have to know. 46% now gets interesting, are not really sure whether algorithms are something positive or negative, right? So they have they don't really know what it is, but they have mixed feelings about it. 73% now is really interesting, want to prohibit that software can make decisions independently. Yes, they realize that software makes decisions, and we're not even talking about autonomous driving or anything, but people have a strong negative feeling about that computers, algorithms are taking over. Yeah, and 30% believe that software will make fairer decisions than humans, only 30%. Yeah, so what am I getting at is that we have only a vague, or most people only have a very vague understanding what we deal with these days. But we do have an opinion, and sometimes maybe also a bit of a negative feeling, because we don't really understand what's going on. We just see that things are going on. Yeah. And I would like to ask you, so my claim is that algorithms are everywhere, and I would like to ask you can simply write it in the chat, where you feel that your life, personally, your personal life is affected by algorithms. Maybe we can collect some examples. Just write it in the chat. I will collect some thoughts from you. So I see social media for sure. Yeah, so that's an obvious one. Maybe not, but it's true. Yeah. I'm just waiting a couple more seconds. Maybe we have some other feelings, ideas. Okay, shopping, very good. Online shopping, yes. So shopping is important. I see 3 times now, online shopping. Yeah, so let me give you search engines, very good. Yeah. So I think now we're getting to the examples I also have here on my slide. So I think the first one is obviously search engines, and we don't think about this, to be honest. And this is also not, I'm also not even claiming here that you should think about it more, but it's important to realize that if you search something on the internet and you don't find it via Google, you may conclude that it does not exist. But that's not true, not necessarily at least, right? So Google is nothing else but a search engine that, well, tries its best to find things. But if for some reason Google either decides or is not able to keep track, yeah, then you won't find it. And that's not because it's not there, but it's simply because their algorithm may not be able to do it. Yeah, so I'm looking at the chat. So advertisements, very good. Informatics. So these are very good examples. And yeah, so my first was the search engine. The second one we had here as well, social media, right? So you look at social media and of course, because of many maybe political escalations, we are more aware of that now, that the content you see, if you log on Facebook or Instagram, they try to customize, right? So they try to give you what you would like to see. And you can try it out by just once watching a cat video on Instagram. You will see a lot more cats for the coming days. And if you do it again, well, then you probably never get rid of these cats again. It's simply, it's content selection. It's an algorithm. So it's something that, well, also shapes your perception of the world. And it's important that we realize that there are algorithms doing that for us. All kinds of recommendations. So in the list, I saw shopping, very good. Yeah, so we go on Amazon and buy items, and then what you often see is if you buy a book or whatever you buy, it tells you other people also bought. Well, maybe that's not even true, but essentially what it is, it's trying to make you a recommendation what you might be also interested in and what you might also consider buying. And again, this is an algorithm. The same happens if you use Spotify or Apple Music, whatever you use, or Netflix. You see the same pattern, right? So you watch something and then they even come up with a score. On Netflix specifically, if you watch a lot of specific content, they will say, okay, this is a 90% match. Sometimes it's not particularly true. At least I don't feel it's particularly true, but it's something that happens, right? So there's an algorithm working in the background, trying to make recommendations. Matching. So if you're in search for a partner, then even finding a partner comes down to an algorithm, right? And why we would like to believe that this works, I'm not sure whether it works, but it's something that's there. Yeah, if you, well, maybe after or without the partner, decide to buy a house, then whether you will be able to buy a house, if you need more money to do that, then you need money from a bank. And this is actually one of the oldest examples. So banks already do that for quite some time. They try to figure, okay, if I give that money to you, will I get it back? And obviously they only give the money to you if they're kind of certain that you will be able to pay it back. Yeah, so I'm looking at chat, algorithms or patterns detected for wanted outcome. Yeah, some more definitions here. And the last example I would like to bring up is, of course, also diagnosis. So what we see is that more and more algorithms play a role in the medical area. We might feel comfortable with that or not, but I can give you also nice examples there. So for instance, you have heard the word deep learning maybe in your life before. So these algorithms are actually better able to detect cancer cells on a scan than human beings. Right, so you hand over an image of maybe a scan of a brain, and the algorithms can detect cancer cells that a human being cannot detect. So it's better than an educated doctor, and I think these are very interesting developments. Some are maybe also a bit scary, and even though I'm teaching in that area, I share maybe in some areas a certain degree of discomfort. But this is something that we have to accept and we have to embrace it. And as we move on with our own careers, we need to develop a certain understanding, right? So I'm not here to convince you to study computer science or that you all have to become programmers, not at all. But what we try, or what I try, what my task is, so to say, at KLU is to give you a little bit of an understanding. Yeah, so, and we can take the story further. So some people's boss is an algorithm these days, if you didn't know. So if you've ever used any of these services, just My Taxi, Uber, and Lyft, actually these people are governed by algorithms. Yeah, so these algorithms essentially determine what these people earn. They determine whether they get attractive rides or not. Right, so if you're a Uber driver and if you only select the nice rides, eventually you won't get any nice rides anymore, because if you also accept the short rides, then you're sort of rewarded. And effectively, that's basically an algorithm deciding about your life, right? Yeah. And you also decide, these algorithms basically also decide whether you get fired, because if you get very bad ratings for continuous time, you will not get fired, but your app will get deactivated as a driver. So you see that I don't want to create sort of a negative image here, but it's something that we have to understand, that the world around us is changing a little bit. Okay, so that's our life, our personal life, and you'll come to KLU, of course, to study. And the question is, of course, okay, how will it concern your professional career? And let me give you some examples of how algorithms have also affected professional careers, or how it has changed business. What we see is that businesses, of course, they want to become better at what they do, right? So if you have a business, there's always a need to get better, to get faster, and to be innovative. And algorithms play an increasingly important role in that context. So this is an example. So before I came to KLU, I lived in Amsterdam for 4 years, and as an academic, at least without a worldwide pandemic, you're typically traveling quite a bit. Good old times, so to say. So I was using the services of KLM quite a lot back then, and I got very interested in what they do, and many other airlines do the same. They have one specific aspect, and I would like to use that example to illustrate a little bit how algorithms change what an airline, for instance, is doing. So ticket prices, now you don't care, hopefully very soon you will, are of course calculated. So if you even if you check now, maybe you don't feel like, because it makes you sad, but even if you check now, well, you get a price if you want to buy a ticket for New York. And if you check again tomorrow, that price is going to be different. And maybe it's just a couple euros, but it's going to be different. And the question is, why exactly? And is there somebody sitting there adjusting the price from Hamburg to New York for 5 euros? The answer is not. No, of course not. This is an algorithm somehow trying to figure, okay, what is going to be the demand, and what can we charge at this point? Route planning, next thing, of course, an airline has to do. Also now, obviously, of course, not such a nice activity, because right now it's basically cutting down. But still, airlines have to decide where they want to go and where customers need to go. And this is a very complex problem. And KLM is maybe a nice example, because they offer flights to Hamburg, and you can also fly from Amsterdam to Bremen, not because it's so attractive to carry people from Bremen small German city to Amsterdam, but once in a while somebody from Bremen would like to go to Sao Paulo, for instance, and then, well, it's of course a nice package to be able to already get on a KLM flight in Bremen and not, first of all, drive by car to Amsterdam. Yeah, so route planning. And the last aspect, and that this is the interesting aspect here. So KLM has a very interesting offering, and I'm not advertising KLM specifically, but I found this from a computer science perspective quite interesting. So they tell you, if you got any problem, text us. Yeah, so typically what you see with many service providers, they want them to call. They want you to call them, because actually processing emails is a lot of work, because somebody has to read them, somebody has to categorize them, somebody has to take them up, and the hurdle, like for writing an email, is very low, right? You're angry, okay, I can write an email. It takes you 10 seconds. I'm angry. What happened to my baggage? What did you do, right? So that takes you 10 seconds. Getting on the phone, waiting in line for 45 minutes, and then, well, then you're maybe even more angry, but you know, being that persistent, so to say, doesn't happen that often. So it's very interesting that they say, okay, don't call us, text us. Text us on WhatsApp, text us on Twitter, write us via Facebook. And the reason why they do that is they have developed a specific piece of software that automatically analyzes what people write. Yeah, so they realize that most questions people have are very simple. People just want to know, is my flight going to be delayed? Can I change my seat? Can I have a vegan meal? Can I go later? Can I go earlier? Yeah, so very simple questions that can be actually answered automatically. And what they developed is what they call a so-called digital genius, nothing else but a small piece of software that is AI based, that can answer, that's what they claim, 70% of these questions automatically. So they provide an improved level of support with with actually fewer human beings. And that is quite interesting, because it changes the way how we look, or how can we deal with customer demand, right? And while you as potential KU students might not be the ones that are sitting there and doing, you know, the programming work and you know, getting the digital genius out, it's very important that you realize that these options exist, right? So that you realize, okay, maybe that's something that we can automate. And then you will ask the people that know more about it to do that. But to think in these terms, and to think and to realize that technology can do certain tasks, I believe is very important. And this is, so to say, also the mission of our data management track, to give you an idea of what's possible. Right. Okay. So moving on to the businesses. So what do businesses want, and what do they need to do? So what you see a lot is that businesses, big organizations, they collect data, and you know that, and of course you know that mostly from social media platforms that are often on the news. It's clear that Facebook collects a lot of data. It's clear that other social media platforms do the same. But also companies, Amazon, but also maybe more traditional logistics companies, they collect data about where the container is going, what the temperature was inside, etc. And the interesting thing is, and it's maybe a little surprising, they collect data, and at some point they look a little bit like this guy here. They are standing in front of the data and they don't know what to do with it. So they collected, I've talked to companies, they've collected data for 5 years, a massive amounts of data. And they told me, okay, what do we do now? And I asked them, okay, why did you start collecting the data in the first place? Well, maybe we thought it would be a good idea, but they had no idea what to do with it. And this is something that you see surprisingly often, that there is the desire, okay, now we have this data, can we do something with it? Can we get some value out of it? Yeah, and the context of data science, that's the new term that's often used, is exactly doing that, turning data into value. Yeah, and helping organizations to use the data they have collected to improve what they're doing, yeah, to get faster, to get better. So if you take, for instance, the example of Amazon, I mean, Amazon realizes that people want their packages faster. And one thing they have realized over the last couple of years is that some of the logistics companies they have been working with are not as reliable as the customers would like them to be. So especially if you live in a big city like Hamburg and you live in an apartment building, you often realize that people are very stressed delivering these packages and they don't make all the way up to your doorstep. So Amazon realized that and they started delivering packages themselves, at least in big cities. Yeah, so they have their own delivery service now. I don't think that's I mean, it's expensive for them, right? But they realize that this is something that makes them sell more because people are willing to pay for such a service. Yeah, and the mission, so to say, or what I'm trying to teach, or what I'm teaching in most of these courses is to give you a bit of an idea of what you can do with data. And I would also now, for the last couple of minutes, give you a little bit of an idea what you can do with data without making it too complicated. I also don't want to claim that some things are technical in the courses I teach, but I think it was mentioned also, I think by Stefan, that the courses are very small. So actually I've really quite some courses. So most of my courses are really, we're talking about 7, 8, 9, 10 students. So some things are technical, but then there's also a lot of room to really explain things in much detail. And if students struggle to really or take their concerns into account. So I really like this mode of teaching. So what I'm trying, or what I would like to explain to you in the last couple of minutes, is something that is very novel, very innovative. It's called process mining. So process mining is a new data mining technique. It's actually got some attention because a German startup called Celonis was getting high investments, I think 2 years ago, talking about $1 billion in value now, a small company, not even 7 years old. So it's really, you can really see that this is an area that is growing, and we see that a lot of companies are using these techniques, and that having a professional understanding of what's happening there is very beneficial for your career. So what am I talking about? So my starting point is, so today we have talked about application processes, right? So I think also Magdalena used that term, application process. So what is a process? A process is nothing else but a number of steps you go through, right? And at the end, there's hopefully an outcome you like. And if you apply for a study program at KLU, well, the desired outcome is hopefully, obviously, that you get admitted. And in a business context, there are all kinds of other processes. So you might think of producing a car, you might think of a service center, you might think of a hospital where maybe somebody gets into the ER and gets checked, and then maybe there's a surgery. Yeah? So these are all processes. So basically steps that are executed to reach some goal. In a hospital, we want to cure a patient or help a patient. In a car production, we want to produce a car. And these are so-called processes, organizational processes. And nowadays, these processes are supported by software, most of them. Yeah, so there are hardly any processes anymore where not any kind of data is generated. And the idea now is that the data that we collect about the execution of these processes, that we can use them. Yeah, so this is, it's a technical term, it's called an event log. So if you get admitted to a hospital, that's an event, right? So maybe you get admitted to, let's hope you don't get admitted to a hospital. Let's say you're calling a service center and because you have a question about your bad internet connection. It's one of my personal issues once in a while, but it seems it's going well today. So let's say you have a problem with the internet connection and you're calling in at 3:30 p.m. And that's a very specific event. It happens at 3:30, you're calling, it's clear what happened. It's then clear why you called, when you have called, and for sure, some system is tracking this, right? So the moment you call, and typically when you call these service centers, they even tell you that the entire thing is going to be recorded. So you see that there is data being generated about what happens. And the idea is, and this is now a bit of a visual representation of the process steps, that's just an abstract figure, that we can use the data that is in here, that has been generated during the process execution, to understand how the process is executed exactly. And now you may wonder, why is it necessary? What you will realize is once you go to bigger organizations is that, well, the application process at KLU is, of course, a very structured process where we exactly know what's going on and we are keeping track of all our applicants. If you go to large organizations, things are getting so complicated that managers cannot right away tell you how the process is going. They can't. It's so complicated, they don't know. And this is exactly the moment where this kind of technology comes in. So there's technology that can basically tell you, okay, you click a button, and based on the data that has been collected, it can visualize nicely what has happened. And I think that's something that is very, very interesting and very important and very innovative and very valuable. You can even do more, because you can do that. You could also take another perspective and say, okay, how about conformance? So conformance is, you can imagine that in a lot of settings, there are rules, right? So if you go to a bank and ask for a mortgage, you cannot just, the person on the other side cannot say, oh, I like you, you will get it. You know, obviously there are a number of checks that have to be conducted, and these checks cannot be skipped just because you're nice, or you know, maybe you're from the right area of Hamburg, so they are, yeah, typically from that area people have enough money, so you can get your mortgage. This is not how it works. There is some very specific rules what has to be done, and this is what we call conformance or compliance. And you can check that, right? So you can check whether people, what they have been doing here, over there, because we have data about what they have been doing. We can obviously check whether these specific rules have been respected. And that is something that we call conformance checking, and it's something that many large organizations do to understand, okay, where do things go wrong? Why do things go wrong, and how can we do better? Yeah, and some areas, as you can imagine, it has large implications. So if you're thinking about a bank or the insurance business, then obviously these are highly regulated businesses where these things can have severe consequences. Yeah, so not being compliant can be very expensive because you're mostly very likely violating laws. Yeah, and then this is a bit of the idea of this technology called process mining. Yeah, and the last thing you can do, that's the third part, and I also talk about this in the lecture, is you can, of course, also use this information, this data here about the process to understand how long certain things take, for instance. Yeah, so maybe you see so what, if we had data at KLU about this, and probably we do, we can tell you. So one of the questions today is obviously, how long will it take when I apply at KLU? How long will it take before I get to know whether I can start or not? And we know from past years how long it took us to make a decision, right? So maybe we look into our records and we see typically took 2-3 weeks. So based on that, we can tell you today how long it takes. And this is exactly the idea here about the performance perspective. Okay, if we know from the past how long it took in the past, well, we can sort of extrapolate and make some conclusions about today. Yeah, so I will skip the details now because we're talking a bit longer about some other things, but I think that's fine. I spare the details. I think you got the idea of today. So obviously we can talk about how exactly that works, and you know, how the different data patterns are identified. That is something I do in the lecture, but I do it on a level that I think is nicely understandable and gives you really some insight what it means, so that my idea is always that we get more transparency, or that you get an understanding of what's happening, and that you're no longer scared about algorithms, and maybe in some cases are actually scared because you know how it works, and in some cases there is a good reason to be scared, but based on based on understanding it and not based on not understanding it. Yeah, so let me skip over this stuff here, where I basically had some details about what I already told you. The reality is always more complex, right? So what I'm trying to explain in the lecture is then always illustrative, and we look into real case studies as well, so that you really have an idea of how also to use certain tools. So I really try to make things hands-on, and I so far, at least for my lectures, I can speak that's what students liked. So my message is the reality is complex, sometimes looks a little bit like this, but we have tools to understand reality. We have means and techniques to understand reality. And if you're somewhat interested in that, feel free to join one of my courses. I think all the profile lines we have are very interesting, and it's clear that you have to make a compromise. You cannot follow all of them. But I basically want to encourage you not to be scared of the data management one. I think it's very interesting what we teach there, and I think the knowledge that you will get it's very likely will help you in your future career to maybe differentiate yourself also a little bit from others. All right, so that's, I think I had half an hour, so that's over now. So I am very happy to answer questions. I already see a question right away in the chat. I haven't been monitoring the Q&A, but I see a question in the chat, so I can answer that question. So the question is, which specific courses do you teach? So as of now, I teach in the bachelor a course called data management, which is an introduction into the entire topic of data. We talk a little bit about databases, how they look, how they work, and we really take this from a hands-on perspective. We build something, and that sounds maybe very technical, complicated, but it's something that people like very much and makes it very tangible. So we really have a nice group work where students build their own database. Then I'm teaching a business analytics course where I'm talking more about these topics, right? So the typical, what is often labeled as data science these days. I try to give you an overview of what's out there, what you can do with it, not so much with respect to how exactly, because I don't want to torture you in the bachelor with hardcore programming or whatever, but I try to explain and give you an idea. So if somebody asks you, what is a deep learning algorithm, and you would have at least an idea what it is, yeah? And I think that's a bit of the focus. So these are main courses in the bachelor. And the master, I'm teaching a real data science course, and of course I'm also available for supervising topics, and this is also very getting more and more popular because many students have internships where they have to deal with data and the like. Fun fact: our KLU chatbot was a class project from the profile line. See, so very good profile line. So now I haven't looked at the Q&A. Are there other questions? Do I need to be really good with numbers to attend your class? I would say no. So I think I got a lot of these questions. So many people are afraid of math, and I understand that if people are afraid of math, but this is not so much about math. So maybe if you enjoy math, you're likely to enjoy this because maybe it has sort of a formal side, but we don't use higher math. We don't, I mean, there is math, but it's, I also really try to break it down. So if you go on Coursera, and sometimes you look into machine learning courses, yeah, you see a lot of sigmas and crazy formulas. There's a way to look at these topics from that perspective, but I try to do it a bit differently and you know, give you a gentle introduction. So I would say you don't have to be particularly good at math. So it's really not a requirement. I would say it's something that requires a certain interest. in learning something new, but it's rather new than that you have to understand, you know, that you have to be a math pro. Are you also doing your own research? Is that reflecting in teaching? Yeah, so I'm actually very active. So I'm a computer scientist. I develop these techniques myself. So I'm researching in the process mining and data science area. So I'm also really sharing insights from my own research, trying to, if you are interested in writing theses and the like, try to, you know, I think it was a story, I think by Jonah, that also the feeling of, you know, supporting professors in the work also makes it very tangible what research actually is, and that it's very interesting. So I do these kind of things as well. Can I choose the sustainable profile and still attend your course? So that's a very good question. I think there were more questions like this. I don't know whether the students can comment on this. So I think it was a bit complicated sometimes, but sometimes it was still possible. So I don't know exactly, to be honest.
I don't think so, because I have the sustainable profile and I wasn't able, I think it's in the second semester, your course, right?
Yeah, so it's yeah, it's a bit yeah.
So I don't think so, because we had human resources, I think.
Yeah, so there's the Python course in the second semester. So that, I think that's now that's a language or personal skill thing that was also mentioned. So that is now done by someone else, and then it's in the but it's still in the fourth semester and in the sixth semester.
Yeah, so if you have one course in the sixth semester, you can choose it, because it also depends if you're standard or intensive, because when you're intensive track, you can choose one more course in the sixth semester, and if you're standard track, you have one course less, but you can choose from other profile lines as well. But for all the attendees, you can still I know, write an email to study at KLU or to the program management to get more details about that, because we don't want to spread wrong wrong answers here. But yeah, just contact them to make sure.
I think it's also good to raise these questions, because we do get these questions more often, and I think we realize that it's a trade-off to have these profile lines, and well, the more you ask about it, well, maybe we will also find a way to accommodate for certain things in the future, but I can't promise anything right now. So especially when the courses overlap, obviously it's getting complicated. Yeah. All right, so then I see no open questions, and the chat is empty as well. So any other questions for me? Do you recommend doing any specific courses before starting my studies? Well, at least not. So let me answer it from my perspective, and then I will hand it over to the students again. So I think for my courses, really not. So I really know that I have also quite some experience. So I'm originally I did my PhD at the Humboldt University in Berlin, which is also a faculty of business and economics. So I was teaching bachelor students in business and economics and these kind of topics. So I really start at zero. Yeah, so that doesn't mean that it's not challenging at some point, but I start at zero. So there's really no requirement for the technical part. And I can also not imagine that there are strict requirements for things that you have to know for the other courses, but maybe the students can comment a little bit. Maybe they have felt some, maybe they have felt themselves that they should have, I don't know, done something else to prepare better. But yeah, I leave the answers to you.
Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, Maria, but I think you're from Brazil, so probably you will do the 1 year prep program in Berlin, and regarding the courses, you get quite prepared or well prepared there for all the business related subjects and lectures. So friends of me who also were in Berlin for the prep course, and they were really happy, and they had the same preparations as all the other German students. So you don't have to worry. KLU guides you quite well through the beginning of the courses.
And as a Berliner, I can tell you it's nice to be in Berlin for a year.
I think also for all the German ones, there's the possibility to do math preparation kind of if you're a little bit unsure before. But in general, every lecture starts at like a low point where you get all the basics taught as well in the first lectures.
There's another content question, very content related. Thanks for this. So any tips how to approach the data that is all around us? Should we try to reduce services taking our data, opt out, not use certain providers because of it, or just accept it? Well, I think it would be a very long answer if I had to answer this in all detail. But I think it's what we try to teach is that we want to create transparency. You know, we want to understand, at least to some extent, what's going on, so that you can make educated decisions, because it's not that easy, and certain things we cannot avoid, right? I mean, or we can, but not socially. I mean, you can opt out from all kinds of social media, but may negatively affect your private and professional life. So I will give you a long answer when you join KLU. So that's our mission or my mission in the courses is to give you an understanding of what's happening, so you can make an educated choice. And there are always pros and cons, so that you can balance this yourself, but not based on feelings, on things, on hearsay, but rather based on facts. All right, so if there are no further questions, I think time-wise, that's also the right thing to do to move on.
Yeah, thank you for the lecture, and thank you for everything in general. So now we have reached the end of our part, so of the bachelor and the mini lecture program, but the KLU still is on. So we would like to remind you to participate in the Meet with the KLU service and areas and students. So we also will be there for any more questions. And this is also really nice for you if you have more special questions regarding the admission or regarding the application or the program profiles, because we might not be so professional in our answers, so you can contact them directly. And it's a new platform, or for me, it's a new platform we are using. So can you go to the next slide? Thank you. So it's called Wonder, and it's kind of a virtual room where you can go from desk to desk and actively talk to others. So if you are using an Apple, I would like to encourage you to download Chrome or Firefox. So it's really not that difficult. I just downloaded it yesterday, and it takes 10 seconds. So please do that now. So for Apple, I downloaded Firefox, and then you can just enter the link. And then we also presented here. And to start any conversation, you just have to join a bubble. So you basically just bump into the session. And of course, you can always unmute yourself or mute yourself. So it's basically the same as here, the functions. And then you can also change rooms and go from another department to another department. And yeah, please mute yourself when you're not talking, because imagine we all would just have here our microphones on. We don't want to know what would happen. So please mute yourself when you're not in a conversation. And yeah, I hope this is all. So for me, it's also the first time to try it, but you always have a first time in everything. So I think We just need the link. I don't know if you already received it. Let's see. So maybe Nicole or Kim, did they receive the link? Oh, okay, so you have to go to the Open Day webpage, and then you will be forwarded to Wonder, I assume. So I guess we will just try it out now, and then I'm happy to see all your faces and the internationalities in the Wonder platform. So thanks a lot, and see you in a few minutes.